Recording in progress.
We're recording. Time is 6 p.m. Today is June 6th, 2023. This is the Hannah City Village Council meeting. Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Just as a reminder, today is the 79th anniversary of D-Day. For those who don't know their history. Probably the only reason that I remember it the most is because today is my mom's birthday. Can you skip me? Huh? Can you skip me?
Do him last and then let him go.
So we'll start with recognition of guests. Jessica? Go ahead.
Oh, cool. So do you want me to get up now and talk what I'm here about?
Yes,
okay,
sure.
all right, perfect. Sorry. So I have a handout for everybody. I'm sorry if there's not enough. The last time I came here, there was only like 4 people here and maybe people online. So what I'm here to talk about is the nuisance problem on the corner of Nora and Runkle Street. What it is a fly infestation from the waste pond. They're called midge flies. So a little bit of science here. Midge flies, there's 2 common types of midge flies that live on waterfront residents, often referred to as the bloodborne midge and the other as the phantom or ghost midge. It's reassuring because we know that the midges do not bite or spread diseases. However, they cause a significant impact on the enjoyment of being outdoors as well as indoor spaces and create a mess to clean up outside and inside. They also can have been linked to headaches and cause triggers for people with asthma. We'll talk about the cycle of the midge fly. The midge fly starts as a laid egg on the near surface of the water, which I'm referring to as the treatment, the waste pond. The egg hatches and develops into a larvae form, which lives within the water body. The larvae transforms into a pupa and floats to the surface, then morphs out as an adult fly. The fly, typically, it doesn't feed, so it only lives a few days to several weeks, but they still create a nuisance. So give you a little bit of back situation and background here. So the past and present, there's been a nuisance infestation with the midge flies that plague that pond and the surrounding areas. Thousands upon thousands of midges cover all surfaces of homes, outdoor buildings. They're attracted to light surfaces, like white buildings or with the lights on at night. And then they eventually make their ways indoors if you have to open up your door to go outside to let your pet out or whatever. This has been an ongoing issue. My family moved to this area in 2019, and it seems like this problem has been getting worse over the past few years. When we first moved in, it was like we noticed it if we had large gatherings of people coming in and out of the house. So I took an assessment and talked to a bunch of the other property owners in the area, and they said that they have the same problem. We've tried using pesticides on our yards, spending hundreds of dollars each year with pesticides, trying natural remedies. We've in turn tried turning our security lighting off at night to distract the bugs. But we find this as a concern with recent burglaries and that particular area, we really don't like to turn off our lights at night. This approach has been expensive and yet futile because it continually emerges. We'll treat, and then the next day it comes back, and it's from that never-ending stream of the source of the water body. So we're asking the village to investigate the waste treatment pond to hopefully stop the infestation from the actual source. We're asking for a consultation, an assessment, treatment plan from a lake management professional to rid the nuisance of this area of the town. And then on the next page are all the listed affected neighbors that I've talked to and their residents.
You can add my house to that list.
So typically, I mean, this isn't on the PowerPoint. Bugs don't bother me, but the other night, it was so bad. So I let my dog out, and we have our floodlight on, and I go to open up the door, and I actually scream and step back because our house is covered with them. You cannot see the color of our siding. That's how many bugs that there are. I had to shut the door, and then when I did that, thousands of them came in the house. They only live a day, but it's a mess and a cleanup for the next day. And it's just I don't want bugs in my house. So, but letting the dog out, that's particularly what causes the bugs to get in their house at night. But I don't. So you have this problem as well.
Yeah, I'm not even on.
Okay.
I'm on Lakeshore.
Okay. Yes.
I'm just a block from you, and it's the same.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I live on 2nd Street. I still get them.
You do? Okay.
I brought it up the other night. I talked with Jim about it, and I know he puts out briquettes around the water's edge, and that starts to help. I don't know if he's done that yet this year.
He's done it a couple times.
I believe he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other night, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we hear you.
There
Yeah.
is.
And I made some notes of some other things that we need to try. So,
I appreciate it. And
Brandon, is this something you've experienced with other places?
Not a whole lot, no. I'm not surprised to hear it, though. I guess I would question if I might. Is it 2 weeks out of the summer, 3 months out of the summer, 12 months out of the year?
it's just typically during the summer months. And then once it starts.
It is the
It was last year.
June, July, and August are always not the heaviest months.
I did, I guess Elmwood has the same problem with Sweetwater, with like baseball games and that type of stuff. I don't know how it is throughout the community, but from my research, what I've done, there's different waste management or water treatment specialists, and they actually somehow, I don't know the science behind it, but actually will treat the water. And it sounds like Jim is already maybe doing something, but I don't know how much further we can investigate it to maybe. I can deal with a few of them, but when it's covering my siding, it is when it's like a scary movie.
We hear you.
Yeah, we definitely hear you. So, and there are several different options. I know Jim has one current thing that he's currently doing that we've done every year. So, but if there was something that we're getting a bigger infestation, we can look into other.
We have a pond and lake control group in the area. I mean, the Urban Brothers do this thing for a living, so we can reach out to them and see.
That's what I was going to suggest, actually.
Yeah. And American Pest, maybe they've got something too, but I think historically, Jim's tried to manage it independently, but we probably need to expand our scope. So
I know that so last year we spent close to $700 having our yard treated regularly by the pest control, and then along with our neighbors, each of them have spent close to that amount each year, and they just keep on coming back. So that's why I'm thinking that we need to.
well, if it makes
go
you
more
feel any
aggressive
better,
to
we're
the
talking about
stores.
eventually putting a public works building out there. So your problem will become our problem, and, but we need to solve it before that.
Well, I appreciate you listening, and if you guys need this extra copy, I just wanted to, everyone have them? All right.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
preparedness.
Thank you. All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Really. You're welcome to stay, but you do not have to. It's your call.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Danny, I see you online. Are you just observing this evening, or do you have anything to come before the board?
Nope, just observing.
Hey, Danny, quick question. This is Brian. Did you get my emails about the CEDC upcoming possible meetings?
Yes, I did. I will definitely be there as long as I get out of work early enough. We've been working 12 hours, so hopefully I'm out in time.
I just wanted to make sure that I had you properly included in the email list, so thank you.
Yep.
Okay. And then Nathan,
Yes.
go ahead, sir.
So this is actually under new business, but since he's a guest, this is the electric aggregation for our village accounts, not resident accounts, but our commercial accounts. Am I saying that correctly?
That's correct. So my name is Nathan Hendricks. I work for Genesis Group Consulting. Before I get started, I want to apologize. If you looked on top of the quote that you have in front of you, the Hannah is spelled wrong, and somebody made sure in the room that I was. Somebody's probably getting fired tomorrow about that.
Multiple people.
It could be multiple. I mean, maybe I'm done. So we'll see.
Caleb will clear the room.
So the quotes that came back, and I should say quote because there's two suppliers right now quoting all-in rates: Homefield Energy, Dynegy, and Constellation. Constellation was the only one that we received today for you because Homefield Energy back-end server wasn't aligning to Ameren's server, and I guess it's Ameren's issue. But anyway, they weren't allowed. They got quotes today from Homefield, so we'll get it for you by tomorrow. Which again, today isn't. You wouldn't sign anything today anyway. You wouldn't sign it till tomorrow. So these rates are physical as of right now, but until tomorrow happens, we could have cheaper rates. But right now, these are the cheapest rates that are in the market. So looking at this, it says historical usage based on Ameren, your total 296,491 kilowatt hours. That's an annual usage on all your 10 accounts. If you continue to go down, that rate that you see, that 09892, that is Ameren's new DS2 small commercial rate as of June 1st of this year. So that rate would show up on your Ameren bills on your July, obviously your July invoice from Ameren, because Ameren's rates have dropped significantly this year. So your DS2 rate is now 9892. I don't know if you guys remember last year, but roughly DS2s were close to 14 and a half cents a kilowatt hour. So just in itself, Ameren's gone down dramatically. But if you continue to look down, you can see what an 11, 16, 23, 28, and a 35-month rate would look like going on an outside of retail electric supplier versus Ameren. And then obviously you look at the difference in savings, difference per year. The one highlighted in green would be the one that I'm recommending. I'm being very conservative. Personally, none of these rates are bad. None of them. I mean, you really couldn't go wrong going all the way out 35 months if you chose to, want to lock it in that long. But I'm recommending 16 months because that pushes you to a fall time frame when it comes to full renewal. The reason I would say that is fall is typically a good time to renew energy contracts. Market's typically low, our air conditioners are off, there's no really heat, even electric heat needed, so rates typically drop. But to be honest with you, right now rates are as low as I've ever seen them in. So it's usually not this way. Usually they start climbing. So these rates are pretty amazing. So.
And can you walk through which accounts we're talking about?
Yeah, so these are all your actual village accounts. So on Constellation, I've got there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 accounts, all DS2 small commercial. So the accounts obviously service addresses, and I can pass this around if you want, but it's just
lift stations.
Right, that's correct. So you've got your one on West Chicago, street lighting, Logan Route 116 lift station, Lakeshore Drive, Nora, Albert Court, Chicago Street, Joe Dan Court, Hannah Street, and then First Street. So I think your largest user on here is the Nora one at 213,000 out of your total usage. That uses the most by far.
So you're anticipating an annual savings of roughly.
Yeah, and again, that's mirrored on historical usage, right? We don't know what this whole year brings, but we're going off of historical usage. So
$9,000.
Roughly $9,000 a year savings, and that's just on Ameren's current rates for the next year. Obviously, next May when they press reset again, that rate could change because
we're locked in.
But you're locked in, so your rate's not going to change. But the savings is obviously going to
either get better or lower. Or worse.
It could get right or worse, right? I mean, we hear stories on our end, but to be honest with you, everybody was wrong this year. So right, there hasn't been one supplier, one generator, or one broker got it right when it came to where they thought Ameren was going to go. So to be honest with you, I mean, I'm happy for everybody, but needless to say, it's good now, but it wasn't good 3 months ago when everybody was shopping for energy. So
one other question. So if something else comes in lower than this, we would move to
That's what I would recommend. So if tomorrow, let's say, which it will happen,
When will we know that number?
hopefully in the morning, as long as Ameren's back-end system's fixed and Homefield can get in their database.
My point, the reason I ask is my point is we need to vote tonight on this or lower, right?
Yeah, so my recommendation, and this is what I tell any community municipality, is somebody has to somewhat own this amongst you guys sitting here right now, right? So I would recommend obviously going with one of these that is sitting here, unless I send back to you tomorrow a Homefield rate that's even lower than this. If it comes back lower, obviously I would recommend that individual making the call that he gets the lower rate, right? I mean, that's what I would recommend. You guys would do that. I mean, ultimately that's what you're doing because you're comparing apples to apples anyway. It's all fixed in rate. There's no pass-through charges. You're not doing a capacity pass-through. We don't need to do that. We know Ameren's capacity now, so there's no point in doing that. So my suggestion would be do the all fixed in rate. So let's say you want to, okay, tonight you say 6.924 is great. Let's move forward. Homefield could come back tomorrow at 6.5. The market could just naturally take a dip tomorrow a little bit. And even Constellation may be a little cheaper than this. You won't know until tomorrow happens.
Yep.
So,
but then it's not like we have to wait till the next day or whatever.
Tomorrow would be the day. Yeah. So.
But your point is we need to vote on it.
We do, and I put it on the agenda to vote, but somebody needs to make a motion that says we're going to accept this rate or something lower, and or we're going to accept this rate and give me or Tony or somebody
the authority to make the call if it gets even lower. Right.
I would entertain a motion to allow Brian Baylor, the village administrator, to wait until tomorrow to find out what the current rates are and go with the best rate dictated for the village of Hannah City accounts only.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sheriff Volley?
But if it's not as good as this,
We can take.
We're taking this.
but we want to agree to go with the 16-month, is that what we're looking at?
That's the way I understand it. It's the 16-month or unless there's something better.
Are they all going to offer 16-month options?
So what I try to do is I allow the supplier to understand the market conditions. And obviously my job is to get you into that right reset time frame, right? Now is typically not the time to be shopping because it's summer months, but they'll do the same thing. They'll price you out pretty close to what this is. It could be 15-month, it could be 17th, but at the end of the day, it's roughly going to be about the same thing. And we can communicate that, right? So, I mean, if the rates come back and they're lower tomorrow, we'll talk about the months and you guys will have to decide what you want to do. But it'll be close. It'll be really close to those months. So.
Further discussion?
Do we have a second?
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, I missed it.
So, Brian, you had asked me about something about the opt-in, opt-out situation, I guess, where you were talking about.
No,
Okay.
I think I've resolved that. I put out a fact sheet today with people online. So,
Right. Okay.
there's a lot of misinformation online, people that don't understand. Some of that's caused by people just not educating themselves, although I think we did a better job this year of trying to educate folks. Some of it's caused by non-reputable brokers that are out there doing things to convince people of things they shouldn't be convinced of.
I 100% agree.
But I think we're in pretty good shape.
Okay. Yeah, I'm telling a lot of municipalities right now with the aggregation situation, kind of respond to your people, appropriately when it comes to Ameren's rates versus aggregation rates. And I'm getting calls throughout the Tri-County area. So I mean, I can imagine the noise you're hearing because I'm getting up to 300 calls a day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've basically just told people that, ultimately it's their decision, right?
That's correct.
We published the Ameren rate. We published the aggregation rate, and we've given the pros and cons of each, and we've not advocated for either position, even though some people want us to.
Of course.
But there's people out there that just don't understand.
Right. Yeah. Well, education is the key in my world, so that's the biggest thing. Is
Yeah.
that we don't know
it's hard. You want to respond to everything, but we put out a fact sheet. All the data's out there. We kind of got to let people do with it whatever makes
And I
sense.
always highly recommend going to Amerin's website because the utility has all this. You know, they've been through
And your
this.
bill has it, right? Every month you can see.
You can see price to compare because
Absolutely.
right, the IPA and the ICC is dictated to these utilities and these suppliers. This is how you'll manage it moving forward. So
The average person can't read an Ameren bill.
probably not.
They're extremely confusing
They can be.
if you don't know what
Right,
all
but-
the abbreviations.
I would agree until you compare it to other invoices in the system, other utilities. Amerin's one of the easiest ones, to be honest. So,
Part of the issue is people have preconceived notions of what they believe is true,
that's correct.
and they don't read and they continue to live on those assumptions. And so, probably the biggest complaint we get, which I understand, is why do you have to opt in? Why is it automatically opt in? If you don't want it, you have to opt out. And I think that's a fair.
I mean, do you guys have an answer for the community when they say that?
Well, I don't know if
You
it's a
gotta be
good
opted
answer.
into something.
I don't know if it's a good answer, but my answer is historically that the one, this is how the programs work.
Yeah.
Two, historically, the programs have been productive and positive for residents. Three, it forces you to make an informed decision. I guess that's
Right.
probably.
I would recommend also just telling them that most suppliers in the retail electric industry will not quote independently, meaning unless you opted everybody in, that whole load goes to the supplier at once. That gives you the better rate. That's the key here.
Which
right?
is
The
number
better-
one, right? They're
That
not
is
going
what
to
you're
do it
trying to
otherwise.
achieve. If you go the opposite direction, most of your homeowners probably wouldn't do anything, which in that case, they're on their own anyway. So the reason you want to have where they have to opt out is because of just that. You're pulling the whole load of the community, which is what you're trying to achieve to get the better rates.
Right.
Unfortunately, that just wasn't the right timing.
Volume's key, right?
Right, that's correct. That's exactly the main thing right there, value.
I hear you.
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We need a roll call. Weaver?
Yes.
Miller?
Yeah.
Pearson?
Yes.
Sharavali?
Yes.
Sidak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Well, thank you all. I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, just reach out to me.
I'm just saying, I'm a little disappointed there's no cookies tonight.
You go.
God bless you.
I'm
God bless you.
all right. I do.
Your answer should be, well, if you had signed up for the full aggregate, there'd be cookies.
I tried. That's all I can say. So, thank you all.
Thank you, David. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem.
Everybody should have a copy of our May 16, 2023 meeting minutes. I've done some approval, any corrections, changes, deletions, adds.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as submitted.
I have a motion by Johnson, second by Weaver. Any further comments?
Well done as always.
So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Treasury report. Ms. Cassandra.
Pretty standard stuff.
She says that every time she tries to sneak something.
Yeah, she did.
No. I was trying to sneak it in. Do a bad job. 'Cause I just printed everything for you to see.
Okay, so one thing I would add is we did community night. We did pay for people to be there. Hourly people.
Okay, so that is on the payroll sheet.
Losing my voice today in case I blurt out halfway through my motions. Just so everybody knows. I'll
Maybe sign language.
make a motion to approve the treasurer's report and pay all outstanding bills.
Second.
Motion by Sharavali, second by Sidak. Any further discussion, comments? Roll call. Miller,
Yeah.
Pearson,
Yes.
Chirivali,
Yes.
Sidak.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Motion carried. Mr. Locke.
I don't have anything specific to report. I was out and about, spoke with Brian today, and did not want to be the only person not in attendance. Have no report, but here to happy to answer any questions.
We do have several things going, but really nothing to talk
Yeah.
about in public tonight, so nothing that far along.
Thank you, Brandon. Abby, it's all yours.
Okay, so FOIA update, we got a FOIA request last Friday. So to date, we've sent a sort of preliminary letter to the requester stating we received the request or acknowledging the upcoming deadline, and acknowledging that we can extend that deadline if needed. So let me know if you think we need to extend the deadline.
That's Denise's call.
Yeah, just you can let me know. Yeah, okay. And we also acknowledge that we had already provided some of the requested information in a phone call that Cassandra answered. So currently I'm waiting on all the information to be sent to me so I can review it to see if anything needs redacted. And then we should be good to go with that. So
I didn't know I had to send it to you.
yes, please send it to me.
Yeah, this was a YouTuber that does this frequently. This calls.
Yeah.
His YouTube channel's title is Audit Them.
Don't go there.
His email is
Do not go
comply.
there.
Yeah.
Because he gets paid for everything.
Yeah. And I understand that the citizens of the state of Illinois have a right to do this, and I'm all for it. But what they don't realize in the smaller communities, when you only have 2 people, it's actually costing them as taxpayers more money because that's more hours that we have to put in to do it. I am all for anybody coming in and asking for a Freedom of Information Act. We have nothing to hide. So, it's just that I understand it's their right, but some people just sort of seem to get a kick out of it going from place to place to place to place. And they're actually costing themselves as taxpayers more money.
Isn't the goal that we don't respond and we owe them money?
We have to.
We have to
You
respond
have to
legally.
That's their goal, yeah.
But I mean, if you don't in time,
If you don't,
don't you have to pay a fee?
Well, there's a lot that could happen. They could take you to court.
He has
They
threatened to
could-
take us to court.
Yeah, they could file a complaint. They could file something, I believe, with the Attorney General's office.
The Attorney General's office can then fine us.
I mean, literally in his
There's-
request, if I don't get this done, he will have to escalate this.
Yeah, it can get pretty serious.
How many followers does he have?
Consequences.
Yes, that's obviously his goal, is that
I
somebody
think it
don't
was,
respond so he can get some
12,
interest out of
1300,
it.
something like that.
1,300? Oh, he ain't serious. 13 million, he probably says.
So Cassandra handled it well, and if you want to listen to the recording, you can. Additionally, we asked Abby to give us some direction on in the future how best to respond to these things. So we've got that and put it with Tracy and Cassandra to kind of round out that a little bit. And Tony makes a great point. At the end of the day, we're happy to share anything with anybody, right? But jumping through hoops for the sake of jumping through hoops is bureaucracy. For somebody who's fighting bureaucracy, it seems silly to, add to it. But nonetheless, we're going to respond, and Denise is.
We're going to pay overtime to get it done on time.
Where our money's going?
No,
Well, they requested.
There was a request for credit card statements from 2020.
Which we didn't have a credit card then, so that worked out well.
Fantastic.
I know, right? But they also request my certificates that says I'm qualified for.
To do what you're doing?
And all the
To be
To be
FOIA
And
a
I
FOIA
took
officer,
those.
and that she's completed the training.
And I so,
And
and that
luckily you
all of
just
you
did
have
it.
also completed the
well, I know,
trainings
we just
and stuff.
had to redo. So.
Forwarded to my address.
By the way, everybody else, have you completed your open meetings
Where's
act?
this guy from?
Yes,
I have no idea. I don't really care.
Some was Chicago's up there.
He's
So,
from Chicago.
Can you look up?
Anyway.
You can't look up certifications for people.
I
I guess not the way to get that information is through FOIA request, probably.
You can't just go somewhere and look that stuff up.
Not that I'm aware of. But that
Oh,
doesn't
no,
mean
he
it's
went
not possible.
he wants 50 requests of our last 50 requests.
No, but
And I'm
they
like,
don't have 50 requests.
that's fine, because what I get every month is, do you have any new permits requested?
So that's true. We would have those to respond. So
Well,
that would
that's
be,
what I'm saying is
2
I'm
years of
not
that?
going to provide their
4 years of that.
information. I'm not. This was the request was fulfilled. I'm not giving them the individual permit, people that ask for permits.
Yeah. So we were.
I don't want to provide, I will black that out. That's their personal
If
information.
it is personal information, you can't redact it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is what I'll look at. So
Yeah, we just want to make sure she sees it.
Yeah, she'll do.
yeah, don't redact
all the-
anything without me looking at it.
She'll do all the redaction.
That's
It was
okay.
just our addresses.
So roster of employees with the same exact format as held in public body.
Which we actually don't have a roster, and I created one for myself.
That's the one
Because
we use,
I
but
had
that's the one we
got-
have then.
A previous request for
Yeah.
one, but,
Credit
so
card
we don't
sta-
have one in the body.
Credit card statements from 2020.
We didn't have
50 last most current received Freedom of Information Act request. Signed and dated oath of office of mayor, clerk, and police chief. So just our 2 oaths of office.
Oh.
All completed Freedom of Information Officer and Open Meeting Act certificates of responding Freedom of Information Officer.
That's me.
We got her.
And the police chief doesn't have
They don't
it.
have one.
We don't have one,
Contract.
so we can't
I'm like, I don't
provide them that.
have that copy, so
Do we need to?
we don't have a
That was it.
police chief. Okay. Anything?
Brian, up to you.
I just put a sheet in the deck for you guys to look at it. Just,
Is that all you had?
I just wanted to make
Is
sure
that all
you
you
knew.
had?
We cover most everything under the committee reports. I just wanted you to be aware of things that we're working on that are kind of outside of that. We did put some communications out on the Energy Harbor Resident Aggregation Plan that you can see on Facebook. Working on a performance management process based upon the feedback I got from the end of last year. We're working on, I don't want to call it a website upgrade because it's way, way more than that. It's really introducing a new way of communicating with our residents through an application, an app that would be on people's phones. We gather information and the back end would be much better, and you just push a button and people say, I want it on email or text or whatever, they get it in the format that they want. It would eliminate our need for code red, but our hope is to have that for you to look at the next meeting. I sent you an email on the Peoria County Hazard Plan that we completed our portion of that so that we are eligible for funding if there is a hazard or a big natural disaster in Hannah City. As of the ones that are looking for ways we can get money back, still haven't heard back from them. Paper-free billing, I think we're up to 30, maybe residents, so it's going slow, but we're making progress. We may have a need for a planning meeting, first time in probably 10 months, to look at a fence variance. And then Cassandra's been working on records retention. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I've started the records retention for this year. When I get a little bit further into it, we'll have to call the company and have them shred it.
Bottom line is we're just trying to get to a place where everything that needs to be gone is gone, what we have is right, and that we've got a process for keeping that current.
That's it?
That's it.
That's on the history.
Yeah, baby.
Committee reports, Mr. Sherrod.
Right back to Brian.
What?
I said right back to Brian.
Yeah, so we did complete the on-site audit. I think they're still doing some stuff remotely. All the feedback was positive. I think
2 days on site,
yeah,
which is amazing.
That's a record.
It is. Probably have a report in July timeframe. They'll probably be here in August to present to you all to vote on. But at this point, I don't think there's going to be any issues. The only other thing I would add is what was the the interest from the Illinois funds this month was 4,400. So we're averaging right around $4,000 a month, something like that, for the
That's
first
awesome.
2 months. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Okay. Planning and zoning, Mr. Johnson.
No report.
Sanitation sewer, Mr. Pearson.
Yes, sir. The lift station is installed. We used ARPA funds for it. There was like 35,000 set aside. We just used 15 of that, but Jim has plans for other projects to deplete the rest of that. He's also getting quotes for the annual sewer lining project, projecting 75,000 a year and for approximately 2,000 linear feet. Hope to get that started this year. I think that is all for sanitary sewer.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Water, Mr. Pearson.
Yes, sir. We're still waiting on the large water meters. They've been purchased, but there's a long time for them. So when they get here, we'll do that.
And that's for our big commercial customers.
Yep.
For the IEPA loan, we got the numbers for forgiveness is still up to 50% if we qualify, but the maximum is 1.25 million. So
On forgiveness.
yeah. So we got to keep that in mind. The rate looks to be 1.8% for 20 years. We're working on a couple other ideas that we hope to be able to bring to you guys soon, but
That would be incredible.
what, 1.8?
1.25 forgiveness and 1.8% for 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find that through anybody other than government.
Just FYI, the other thing you and I hadn't talked about is we had another group in today to talk about finding water leaks, and they claim they have a different approach or whatever. And we're not spending any money at this point, but they met today with Jim for probably 2 hours to gather data, and eventually they want to come and talk to the board and explain what it is that they do. So,
is this the electrical one?
No, somebody different. They're out of Indiana, near Valparaiso or
Okay,
whatever.
yeah, he had mentioned something about that. So yeah, he's of course a little wary because we've had 2 companies come through and both have 3 now with the same findings.
Well, I wasn't at the meeting. I had other conflicts, but I was at the end of it in the last 10 minutes. I told them, I said, you better come strong because we've been down this road before.
Yeah.
And it's going to take some convincing for us to spend any more money.
Yes, it is. Yeah. End of report.
Buildings and ground, Mr. Weaver. Streets and alleys, Mr. Weaver.
Same on the spray patch. July.
I did get an email today that Roger said they're hopeful that they'll do the spray patching next week, maybe Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So
They're doing it town-wide.
in general, yeah, I think they are. They're really focusing on the places where they're going to oil and chip later, but they will. But for the most part, I do believe they're going to spray patch everywhere that they know of something. So if you know something, let him know.
My house seems to fall right in the middle of the city. Don't think they need to do it. The township company think they need to do it. I tried to Buffalo
It's
Township.
all of Murphy.
The township was out spraying white marks where they wanted to do it. So I went out with a spray can and sprayed white. White stripes on mine like they did the rest of them. They were
I'll follow up with Roger and see. I understand, but if they've got the material and stuff, why not?
in the Heritage Homes sidewalk project.
Yeah, so you guys know where Heritage Homes is over here. They've had HUD and the sidewalks that kind of do a horseshoe around that. There's places that need to be fixed and repaired to be ADA compliant. So we're going to be on the hook for that. Roger's working with them to kind of come in and get a quote of what it is that needs to be done. But once we get to that, we know everything that needs to be done. We'll bring it to you and go from there. But we'll probably have to do some sidewalk work over there.
Yeah. That's all I have.
And we can debate at the time whether or not we want to use economic development money, or if we just want to use money that we've already set aside for, MFT, streets and sidewalks or whatever.
Mr. Snyder, CEDC.
All right. First and foremost, we have some exciting things to vote on. I think first residential project has been bought and paid for, and now we can vote on reimbursing their money. The agreed upon amount is $3,000 out of their, you can see on page 5 or 6 page. They signed a check over for $4,000.
So there's a page in there that you and Denise, I think. No, I think all the board members need to sign.
She needs to annotate it.
Originally, their quote was for $5,500, but you guys challenged it and said we need to go back and get multiple quotes, and they did, and it came in at $4,000. So the amount we have to pay, 75% is lower. It's only $3,000, so we're gonna save a little money there. And I went and inspected it, and they took out a tree and did a bunch of trimming, and it's nice.
Just curious, do you know why the name on the check is different than the name on the?
Yeah, it's a relative.
Was it different people?
Thank you. It's a good question. It's a relative, and so we can debate what they said. If we write we can either write the check to them, or we can write the check to the people that did the project or had the application. My opinion is we should probably write it to the people that did the application, and they can settle it up on their end.
Exactly. Because that way, then there's no question on who we're paying. We're paying the applicant.
Yep. And they were fine with it, but I think it was a uncle or father-in-law or somebody that ultimately paid the bill. So this would be the first of any of the grants that we've already approved the project, but we're actually approving the dollar amount to go back, which requires on Tony's, he's got to do we need to take your sheet there and fill it out and get it signed and put it in the final packet.
Right, so I will make a motion that we approve the reimbursement of $3,000 to the original applicants of project 2305.
Second.
Motion by Sidak, second by Chair Volley. You guys just keep it in the family over there.
Everybody else is too slow.
Any further discussion? We'll roll call it. Pearson?
Yes.
Chair Volley?
Yes.
Sidak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Medical. Weaver and Miller?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, and next week on the 13th, the CEDC will be having a special meeting. I wouldn't call it special, but it's aside from our regular, semi-regular quarterly meetings. And the main topics of discussion, which Brian and our esteemed Danny Pearson and I and the rest will be discussing, the Hannah City TAP wants to sort of enter into a similar agreement to the one we have with Zane's. And so we're going to be discussing that. Should have our agenda in front of you. I imagine that'll probably be the bulk of the discussion that night.
The rest of it's all updates, bro.
Updates. A lot of projects underway. You can already see that. People from the village have said that the new parking lots, right on 116, look really nice. They're really satisfied with it. I spoke to one of the people who got their residential grant approved. They were very, very satisfied.
I've had a couple neighbors tell me that everything's looking a lot better. Are you guys responsible for some of that?
Yeah. And I tell them,
He said I was.
Yeah.
Brian Pearson.
Keep spending money.
Just heads up. I mean, the CEDC will look at it, but they tore out about 25% of the sidewalk around the old Hannah City Tap to do the foundation work. But again, to Jody's credit, is she wants to replace the entire sidewalk all the way around. And so the project is to replace the entire sidewalk, 25% of it, which they'd be on the hook for anyway, given the other work. But I think the quote was around 21,000, somewhere right around there. So the CEDC will look at it and decide what they think we ought to reimburse, and then bring it to you guys. And then at the end of the day, you guys can say that's enough or it's not enough or whatever. But And here's somebody that's put a ton of money to bring a building back into code.
Did they have to ask us before they could tear up the sidewalk?
Yeah, they got a permit to do all the work that they did. So,
How are they coming with all that?
man, I went inside about 2 weeks ago.
I heard it's pretty nice.
It's real compared to what it was, which is not a high bar.
Shit.
But yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, they moved the bar. They've got really nice lighting and ceiling fans, and the flooring is the kind of the gray faux wood flooring, and then not just that, but the structural stuff that they did in the basement. And she's put a bunch of money into that place.
You needed it for
It did.
4 years.
Yeah. And we're having conversations about the outside and what we can do to ultimately, do the roof and other things. But I think Jody deserves a lot of credit for what she's done. She's worked hard to make that place a viable part of our community again. Cool. Absolutely.
I don't think that's her first rodeo.
It is not.
She's done.
She's got a couple of those. That's right.
We got some information.
I do.
Yeah, like the date we received the application and everything.
And where are we at with Zane's thing?
They're still interested. I've told them to come sign the paperwork.
They're too busy doing our oil changes.
This needs.
I will also.
Get her signature out. I can do the other stuff later.
Have there been any developments with the signs?
Yeah. The basically what's going on with the signs is the company where they're making the sign, the kind of inserts have been working on it, and then Roger and Brad have gone out and looked at all of them and determined what they need to do to repair the existing signs in terms of either posts or the plastic sheeting or whatever that goes around it. So now all we're waiting for is them to be done and then to come up with a date where our guys can go out and fix the structural stuff, and then they can slide the new ones in. We go from there. So,
And then one of the last things on here, we had a little bit of discussion at the last meeting, and there's been a little bit behind the scenes discussion. We're basically trying to figure out whether or not the CEDC falls under the requirements of the Open Meetings Act. I don't know if there's been any updates on that.
yeah, she gave me a whole.
Cool.
I got a whole write up, and we'll go over that in the meeting on how to handle that. I think we're pretty good, to be honest with you. There's a couple things we might want to change, but
We said who's all there.
Does that mean that the members of the CEDC need to take the Open Meetings Act training?
Think
They're not
so.
elected
They're not
officials.
elected officials.
That's true, but they're appointed, are they not?
I think they're volunteer.
Well, we don't vote to let them in. Right?
yeah. Which made me wonder even that we
You want,
needed
I
to.
can look into it if you'd like.
Just
No, I think at this point we're good. I think we're 98% of the time we're following everything anyway. So
I just know that the committee itself is most likely, supposed to be following the.
I should probably stop swearing so much on recordings then.
So no, at the end of the day, I mean, the Open Meeting Act doesn't require us to record, right? It just means that we have to have public minutes and we have to publish the minutes and the agenda and so forth. And so I think there's a way to manage this in a way that honors our desire to not speak publicly about people's rundown properties publicly and handle that with minutes versus the public video. So.
All right, that is.
And Zach can type.
He can.
That is the end of my report.
Thank you. Incident reports, Mr. Miller.
Did you arrest anybody? Did you arrest anybody?
not personally.
You guys gonna give me a badge?
No.
You can be the police chief.
No.
From 5:28 to 6:03, there's only 6 calls. Just a couple quality of life checks, disorderly conduct, serving papers at the same address.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the date.
5:28 to 6:03. Which I thought I had.
3?
Yeah, 3 to 6:03.
I thought he was saying 30. I'm like, we're
Well,
not
I
there
thought I
yet.
had another, whatever you want to call it, email from them for previous to that. I don't have it, so.
Nothing major. I'll see if I can.
I thought I saved.
Tony, I'm assuming, I'm sorry, I'm tracking, but I'm assuming we do that, once we cut that check, you're gonna wanna get a picture with the homeowners.
See if I can,
Probably Zach too.
see if I can find a big.
Either one of you or both of you, it's fine.
That would be awesome to have. Seriously.
Seriously?
Yeah, like one of those fake checks
Yeah.
with our name and stuff on it. So like when we present
A
it,
whiteboard.
you just
Sure,
And
write it off.
we'd have to change the amount or whatever.
See what I can
Yeah,
find.
it's a whiteboard. They just wipe it off.
See what I can find.
Actually, that's motor vehicle. Certain papers, disorder conduct. This is pretty big stuff.
Okay.
Flip it to a piece of foam board. Yeah, piece of cake.
Of course, it's really expensive.
It's not.
I'm playing with you, Brandon,
I'm doing it right.
nobody's looking.
This is recorded.
Thing, Nikki?
Like I got-
Other business, we already did the electrical aggregate. Our not next meeting, but the meeting after would be on July 4th. I would entertain a motion that we cancel that meeting and postpone it until the 28th. Is that right? No, 18th. And do 2-in-1 meetings.
So moved.
A motion by Chair Valley.
Second.
Too late. Weaver second. All those in favor.
Slow, I can't hear you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I have a question.
Yeah.
As in postponed, are we combining them or are we gonna start each meeting separately?
They will just be one meeting.
Okay,
So our
We won't
canceling
be
the fourth.
Then do another meeting.
Because we'll just have
just the wording.
2 weeks of bills on the report and things like that. Obedience Meeting Act and Freedom of Information Act training reminder. Our next, sorry about that. We got our recipient for the scholarship fund that we entered into. Alex Barrett, who's actually a resident of Hannah City. We got it from the Farmington Central Academic Foundation, which we apply to every year. He's grateful for the gift to help him further his education goals. He's planning on attending ICC to get his general degree and then transfer to a 4-year university where he wants to study aerospace engineering. So he thanks us for our donation to the Scholarship Foundation.
You wrote an essay on Foghat, so that's why.
No, we don't pick the recipients. The academic foundation picks the recipients, so it's fair. It is nice that it was a Hannah City resident that was able to get that. So, what else? I think we talked about some. Does anybody else have anything else to come before the board?
Yeah, we had the Lakeshore HOA meeting a couple weeks ago. Talked to Brian about there was just a couple things that they asked me to just bring before us. One question was we put that fence up along the dam over there. Who's responsible for mowing that strip?
I think that's us.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember if
Does it need to be mowed?
No, I think it was mowed, but they had asked the question. I didn't answer.
Yeah, I think that's us. I think that's our property.
And then that empty house that we talked about this time last year, where we had the inspector go out, and it's owned by a group that it's kind of like a halfway house, basically, but it's been empty for a couple of years. It's down on Lakeshore. Yeah. Right next to Jerry. Yeah. So the people who live in the house right next door have concerns just because it sits empty all the time. They say it's just, they're worried about it structurally having issues, but also somebody eventually getting in there and squatting, and then having trouble getting those people out. We had an inspector go out last year and look at it, and they said everything was good.
Well, actually, they said there's a couple things that they felt needed to be done, and the people that own it or the new manager over it addressed those issues and were very responsive. So,
So they were saying, like, can we request like a yearly inspection or something? But I don't know if that's needed. But it's just
I don't have a problem going out every 2 or 3 years and doing something and asking our guy to do that. But I think annually, I just don't think it's.
Yeah.
I would say if they have a specific concern, we'll look into it. But otherwise, it's.
Yeah, one concern was that the back deck seems like it's in disrepair, but I think during the inspection there wasn't any issues with the deck at all.
I don't remember the exact inspection. I know that they said that there was a handrail or something that needed to be addressed, and I believe the people that did it addressed whatever we told them to address. So
I know part of me is also like, if we keep poking the bear, they're going to put some people in there, and we're going to have to deal with the people that they put in there.
but it's I think that's still their intent, to be honest.
To put somebody in there.
Yeah, I think that's a resource they'd like to use if they could.
Yeah, it was. The people in the neighborhood were not happy when there was people there.
Well, I had a naked guy running around my property like 3 times.
Dang it, Ryan.
Well, no, he was old. I know. I remember his name right now.
I said I was sorry.
Seems Glenn.
But
It's a halfway house, like out of prison.
No. Well, this it was like people that can't live on their own. Like he had dementia and stuff.
I think it's a low income.
There was a wide range of people living there, age group wise,
with some mental issue people, and that kind of stuff.
Just stuff them in the middle of a.
Yeah,
And they would just sit out in the yard and around the neighborhood.
Again, we didn't cause any trouble.
Well, I was worried about the guy. I only knew him one time, but the cop told me he found him twice back there. What if that guy wanders out on that lake with an inch of ice on it?
I hear you.
But right after my property deal, I seen them. They had them all shopping at Family Dollar, and he had a walker with a bell on, so they could hear him.
We did have a guy arrested in town and charged with arson.
That one guy.
Over on Carroll.
Yeah.
We talked about that last.
That's me.
That's all I had.
Anything else come for the board? Everybody have a good evening. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, Danny.
Yeah.
I'm gonna email you my card again.
Please do.